Hi.
Oh, hi.
No, it is upside down.
Upside down. Hey guys, welcome back to another Eat a Deck Tech video. This week I've got my friend Jake over here, and we're gonna go over some fun and fair and interactive magic with this Tron deck that we've got in front of us. So Jake, it looks like right now you're mostly on green red Tron.
Yeah.
Kind of the original version of the deck before it started moving into white and black.
Right.
So why are we still sticking with green red when some of the other variations have come out?
Personally, I like the lightning bolts. Lightning bolts are always fine. Your opponent's at 2 life, you grove them, bolt them to the face. They're crying in a corner because they never expect the bolt to the face.
Right, and then you actually run your lightning bolts main, which we don't see very often. Usually there's some sort of pyroclasm, fire spout, Kozilek's return. So it looks like you've got the 3 bolts and 2 Kozilek's returns. Why return over the other 2 sweepers you could run?
The Kozilek's return provides the instant speed, which is super relevant. It also provides the exile ability of dealing 5 to everything to the board, because most creatures in Modern right now, other than like Tron players, is lower than 5, except for like a few exceptions like Prime Time and whatnot.
Have you noticed any issues with it, like that, because the other option being Fire Spout deals 3, this deals 2. Is there anything in that 2 to 3 range that you wish you had Fire Spout sometimes instead?
Merfolk, really.
Okay.
Because they do have a lot more Anthem effects than most decks do. So
Right,
really, that's about it. But for the most part, everything's within that 2 to 1 range where Kozilek's return gets it done.
All right, and then the most of the time, besides your color choices, that I see the variation in these decks is your threat. So you've got your 4 Karns, but then you go 2 Wurmcoil, 2 Worldbreaker, 2 Ugin, 2 Ulamog, and then for a little bit of spice, you've got the 1 Sundering Titan. So how did we land on this breakdown of threats?
So typically Tron runs the 4 Karns, 2 Ugins. That's like the basic Karn to Ugin ratio, because Ugin's good, but he's not good against every deck, whereas Karn is just play to threat. If he sticks, he's amazing. If he remains on the field, the longer he's on the field, the more value you get out of him, because it's like plus, take a card from their hand, then they're shorter on cards in hand.
Right.
Then it's minus, take something off the field. So when you take something off the field, it's just it's a nice rinse and repeat. It gets everything done that you need to get done. While Ugin is the board wipe against colored decks, because it's like throw down Ugin, minus whatever you need to. Or bolt if they only have 1 creature that you can kill with it. You can even bolt to the face if need be, if you feel like you're just, I'm gonna win this turn. But really your threats can always variate between like 4 Wurmcoils, 4 Worldbreakers, 3 Coils, 3 Breakers. You don't even need the Sundering Titan, you can throw that into somewhere else.
I've even seen lists just running the 4 Ulamogs just to make sure that they get them.
Yeah, you can run the 4 Ulamogs. I personally don't think, I think 2 is enough. Normally I actually do take 1 out because I try to cut the curve a little bit just to make things more castable, because people do like to bring in some land destruction, which then hurts your land count, so then it's harder to get to that 10 mana normally. Whereas like in the sideboard I have 2 Thragtusks and 2 Thought-Knot Seers, so normally I like to bring out like either 1 Ulamog and maybe the Sundering Titan depending on what I'm facing. Bring in a 2 Thought-Knot Seers or 2 Thragtusk, make something castable early because they're great blockers. As soon as they enter the field they do something, so.
And plus, you've been playing this deck for a while, and as like I play the grinder decks, as you know, and so you know that most of the time when you play these kind of fair removal heavy decks, they're going to board out as much of their removal they can against this deck. And so I feel like, you know, cutting down on that Ulamog, bringing in your Thought-Knot, your Thragtusk helps a lot, because they see this 5/3 that just gained them 5 life and leaves with a dude, and all of a sudden they're screwed because they have no ways to interact with it anymore.
Correct. So it also, even then, just them being in the board, they're good beaters. A 4/4 that just swings in for 4 every turn.
Right.
Or a 5/3 that swings in for 5 until it removes. Then you have a 3/3 blocker. So it's nice. You can always change it up though. You don't have to run this specific. I just feel like it's a nice balance between life gain between the Wurmcoils, the cast abilities from Worldbreakers, and then if a Sundering Titan does land and you're facing anything that has 2 or more colors, they're normally going to scoop after a Sundering Titan resolves.
Now, did you come to this split due to the meta here? Would you change this at all if you were going into an unknown meta where you don't know how like what you're going to be paired up against exactly, or is this kind of something that you've settled on as the right build for you at least?
I've tried multiples, like I've tried 3 World Breakers, but I feel like this is the most comfortable build out of it because it's, like I said, it's a nice balance between having a good blocker and having life gain between the Wurmcoils, because even if the Wurmcoils do get removed other than being exiled, you get 2 blockers.
Right.
You get a 3/3 lifelink, 3/3 death touch, which are very convenient, which then soak up either a bolt, fatal push, or something that just you don't want something else to be removed with.
So we talked a little bit about how this deck has green base always, and then there's kind of options in that secondary color you want to go. So, you know, we talked about here mostly green-red. However, you do run your Rest in Peace in the sideboard. So how did you kind of decide to try and go this 3-color route here?
So I played green-white for a little bit. I liked it for the little bit, but then I realized it's not my style of play. Okay. But I did like the Rest in Peace in the sideboard because recently people have been playing the Ghost Quarter Surgical, and so it kind of shuts down that combo.
Right.
And so it protects my lands, it protects the graveyard, because then Goyfs are cut short, Delirium's cut short, Snapcasters are almost useless except for being a 2/1 beater.
Taskers are now in a 6-mana 5/4,
Yeah.
4/5s, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Taskers, you have to hard cast them, and it makes everyone's life miserable, other than yours.
That's fair. And you like it so much more than Relic. I see you still run the one in the main, but you like it so much more than Relic that it's worth kind of splashing that second color, even though you have to cast it off a mana rock, it looks like?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's totally worth it. Every time I've casted it, everyone's just been like, what is this? Why is this being in your sideboard?
Right. And so it kind of throws them off guard, especially when you're playing green-red.
Correct.
So you said that you've tried the green-white version versus this green-red version. So is the playstyle, like, what was so different about the playstyle that made you prefer this way?
I was playing the version with the Razorverge Thickets, where, like, turn 4, they come in tap. Turn anything after turn 3, if you have your 3rd land, they come in tap.
Okay.
Which then it hurts your curve, because then you have to be like, all right, I have to play this now, then I have to play my land next turn in order to cast my Ulamog or my Ugin, or I have to hope that I draw something else, or if I don't have a rock to cast Worldbreaker's coming down a turn later. So,
and I guess I feel like the other downside, now that you explain that, is you can go to turn 3, like you want turn 3 Tron in this deck, obviously, because you want to be able to slam Karn on turn 3. Correct. But you then, if you, like you said, if you have a Razorverge Thicket, you can't then follow it up with an Ugin.
Correct.
And so, I could see that being a little frustrating when like those are like kind of 2 linchpins that like just close out the game right there for you.
And the white version that I was playing was actually more white based than it was green based. Like a lot of the sideboard was like Timely Reinforcements, Rest in Peace, Blessed Alliances, and so it becomes more white heavy. And so then having that white accessible is somewhat difficult, rather than in the green-red version where it's like if you have the green, you have the red, it's convenient, but it's not necessarily needed.
Right. So, kind of want to just go over your sideboard then really quick. We obviously talked about the Rest in Peace, but you are very heavy on your graveyard hate. So you have Rest in Peace along with Surgical Extraction. So why both copies?
Surgical Extraction removes the entire threat of like somebody playing 4 Ghost Quarters, or a threat that I can't necessarily deal with at that moment in time. So it's like if I have the Surgical Extraction in hand, I somehow remove the threat, say with like an Oblivion Stone, but I don't have a way of following it up with like a World Breaker or Karn, Ugin, then it's like, okay, cool, Surgical Extract that. It also gives me a look at their deck, see what they're playing, see what form deck they're playing, get to see what's in their hand. So it's
cards
like
that they brought in against you that you might not be expecting.
Correct. So it's just, it helps me understand, okay, this is what I'm actually facing rather than this. So this is what I'm to expect if I'm to lose or win this game 2, and move it on to the game 3.
Right. And then, all right, so we talked about your Thragtusks and your Thought-Knot Seers. You've got 3 Nature's Claims, so Affinity. Do you ever board them in against, like, Burn?
Sometimes I feel like I need to board them in a little bit more because it's like Destructive Revelry. If they decide to target a map or something like that, I'll be like, Nature's Claim my map. Right. Instead of taking 3, I gain 4.
Or, I mean, even just, like, the extra out in case you just need to gain that 4 life and you don't need your map or your star anymore.
That too.
And now that I think about it, even hits Eidolon, so that's not a worse thing either. And then you've got 3 Warping Wails. So what do you bring Warping Wail against usually?
Typically, I bring it in any control deck that's running red because they typically bring in the land destruction, like either Boom, Bust, or Crumble to Dust, or Stone
Rain, Molten Rain, some form of that.
Stone Rain, Molten Rain. And even then, it's like in the mirror matchup, they'll also bring in a Crumble to Dust. Most green-red versions bring in a Crumble to Dust.
Okay.
Some, even a green-white, green-black version can bring in a Crumble because they do have the eggs as well.
Yeah.
So it's for the mirror match. It's for any red control deck really that has land destruction.
Okay.
It's more of a safety pick. Again, try to protect your lands. Lands are very important in Tron. If you don't have your lands, you can't cast your threats. If you can't cast your threats, you can't win.
Yeah, you can't win. You're very reliant on making sure you've got those 3 pieces out at one time.
Correct.
And then the one kind of spicy card I see in here is your One of Fog, which is kind of one of my personal favorite cards. So why Fog? How did we end up on this? Where did this idea even come from?
It was more for Infect at the time, because Infect, before Gitaxian Probe got banned, Infect was a big deck because it is like the turn 2 kill Tron, essentially. Right. If not the turn 2, it's almost guaranteed turn 3 kill Tron, and then it's like, okay, cool, Fog?
Right.
And then they'd just be like, all this effort just gone down.
All these resources that I just wasted are now gone, and you need to hope that at that point they can't reload, right?
Correct.
Right. So, well, that's kind of cool. And so, when sit across the table and it's game 1, they're on the play.
Okay.
They play their first land, maybe even their first card. What are you hoping you're going to see across the table?
What am I hoping?
Yeah. When you see them play something, you're like, oh, I got this game in the bag.
Any mid-range deck. Mid-range deck, Tron destroys because it's like, you're playing Fair Magic, well, I'm playing Unfair Magic, and I have bigger threats. My threats will destroy your threats.
You're generally faster than them, too, because you're more consistent.
Correct.
And that's kind of a big deal, because around here, there's a lot of mid-range going on. A lot of the grindier decks.
A lot of Abzan.
Yep.
A little bit of Jund here and there. And even Death Shadow, it does not scare Tron, because it's like, Ugin, -2.
Right.
Bye-bye board.
Because they usually can't play their Shadow with substantial power until turn 3.
Turn 3, turn 4, depending on the version of Death Shadow they're playing.
And then we talked about Infect kind of being like the scary matchup.
Right.
Now that it's gone, is there anything that still makes you a little nervous that you feel like you need to be ready for?
Not necessarily nervous, but there always are the decks that run the 4 of Ghost Quarters, like I said earlier, that just kind of hurt the deck a lot because I am running 1 basic, and so running the 1 basic does kind of hurt, especially after that second Ghost Quarter. Those are the really decks that I have to watch out for.
Okay.
But
especially with now blue-white control popping up, and that's kind of the deck that's topping, that's also running 4 Ghost Quarters main.
Right. And so it's just really any deck that has multiple Ghost Quarters that can reoccur those Ghost Quarters or draw into those Ghost Quarters easily, it gets a little scary.
Okay.
Plus, one of the reasons why I have Surgical Extraction. Take away their lands, take away their ability to stop me from playing my lands.
Right. And then the only thing we didn't really get into was you haven't really tried the green-black deck yet, right?
I've tried a little bit. I've tried a little bit of spice. I've tried instead of running lightning bolts, I tried the collective brutalities.
Okay.
I personally love collective brutalities as a Magic card now. After playing it once, just the thought of discarding a Kozilek's Return to it and then proceeding to cast a big threat and having it wipe the board the following turn is really nice.
Yeah.
So
feels really good.
Have to play test it with it a little bit more, but that's a possibility that I'm looking into.
If you were to try the green-black version, would you go straight green-black, or would you kind of do what you've done now, where you mash the decks together a little bit?
I think I would mash the decks a little bit because I personally like to theorize with different colors.
Sure.
Because Tron has the capability of running the multicolor decks because of the eggs that it runs. So I think if Tron lost the eggs, it would be a lot harder to do. But with the eggs, it's convenient. I can do it, and even then, it's probably cut down on groves. Put in some ley lines of the Land of War Wastes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Land of War Wastes. So still have to test with that, but.
Well, it looks like you got something really solid going here, and I mean, you've been playing this deck for years now, and you're constantly putting out results, so I'm really happy that you were able to bring this in. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for tuning in, you guys. Just wanted to remind you that on Mondays and Wednesdays we have Modern at Monday it's gonna be at the Comic Bug. It's a 6:30 start and it's a $5 entry fee. And on Wednesdays it's gonna be at Collector Legion in Gardena. It is also a 6:30 start and a $5 entry fee. I'm gonna constantly remind you guys because we want more people to show up. So thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next time. Oh, we've been recording? Yeah. Good. Well, we've got Ost's intro material. So
intro material is covered.
And outro material potentially.
I have no
Can we
idea
figure
what
out more ways to make Ost hate us today is the real question.
Of course.
The easiest way would be just to not break it down in clips. Force him to start cutting this down. So it's just one long clip.
This is what I told you last time.